Boy, drinking booze sure is a lot of fun. But what happens when the fun turns into a problem? Not too long ago, I was an expert drinker for like 35 years in a row. But there came a time when I said enough is enough. I'm going to tell you how getting sober feels. Hey there, I'm Tim Tamashiro. I'm with you here for another edition of More Meaningful Me. And today, I'm going to tell you the story about how I got sober and what it feels like. Now, I admit it's only been around 5 months since I quit drinking, but I want to share with you how good I feel since I gave up the sauce. Now, if you drink, then it's up to you. It is a lot of fun. But the thing is, I never stopped drinking since I was 15 years old. And it kind of got to the point where it was just so easy to put back at least 3 to 5 drinks every day. I began thinking to myself, maybe there's something wrong. So about 2 years ago, I began pondering the idea of getting sober. So for those 2 years, I didn't hold back on drinking at all. When I wanted a drink, I just had a drink. If I wanted another drink, I would have another drink. But I started to pay attention to any patterns that I saw when I did drink. My drinking pattern around dinner, for example, had some sort of a system. I noticed that I'd have 2 drinks before dinner and have wine during the meal. After dinner, it was more scotch or more wine. So if I was going to go up to my local pub, I saw a pattern there too. It would be a different pattern. I'd walk up there because I knew that if I had 1 pint, I'd probably have at least 3, but I'd always be open to more. One more thing that I noticed is that I'd always make sure that I had a plan for getting home before I left home. And that might mean just walking wherever I needed to, or calling a car service to come pick me up. Now, my drinking was nothing really nefarious. I didn't drink to drown my sorrows or deal with conflict. I drank because it was something to do that was really enjoyable. I enjoy hanging out with other people. It was a lot of fun to go and sit at the pub and to chat with the neighbors with a pint of beer in front of me. But I started to notice one more pattern. I noticed that I'm a gulper. Anytime I ordered a drink, especially a beer, I would gulp it. The beer, when it got to me, it never stood a chance. I'd pound back beer like it was water. And it tasted amazing, but I also knew that once I had one, I would want a whole bunch more. I thought life being drunk was awesome. And then one day, my friends at work asked me if I'd like to go and join them for a drink after work. I turned them down, but the reason why I turned them down really surprised me. It was because I knew that if I had 1 beer, I would really want to have a lot more. And I didn't have a plan at all for getting home. I sure didn't want to drive my car. So for the first time in my life, I started to wonder if I had a problem. So I began to start talking to my wife, Michelle, about my drinking. I dropped little chat points here and there to see where the conversation went. Her advice was to just kind of keep an eye on it, cut back on my drinking. She'd become so used to all the drinks that I had, it was normal to her, I guess. But every now and then, we'd be in an appointment with our family counselor, and my drinking would come up in conversation. Now, I was never confronted with alcoholism, but I was challenged to keep an eye on things. I was very good at making light of my social drinking, as I thought of it. But at one session, I unexpectedly blurted out something that surprised everybody. I said out loud that I thought I needed to quit drinking. I hadn't planned on saying it that day. It just came out of my mouth. And that was a surprise to everybody, including me. Now, our therapist asked me if I was serious. And I said, yeah, I think I need to quit drinking. So she asked me to do some homework, to keep a journal of what I would drink for at least a month, and then we'd take a look at it. That night, I set up a note on Google Keep on my cell phone so I could keep track of everything. And I promised myself that I would make a list of every single drink that I poured down my throat for at least 30 days. So that's exactly what I did. And after a month's worth of keeping track, I began to understand what and how much I was consuming. Turns out I wasn't really drinking every day, but I was crushing a lot of alcohol. So I decided to make 2 appointments to help me curb my drinking. One appointment would be with our family doctor, and the other would be with my shrink. Leading up to it, though, Michelle and I had booked this trip to Hawaii. It was in January. And now a big part of holidays in my mind was drinking beer. But I knew that I made these 2 appointments to look into sobriety, and they were coming up. But I just thought to myself, go enjoy Hawaii, and when you get back, you can face the music. Something happened in Hawaii, though. I didn't really feel like drinking that much. It kind of felt like if I wanted a brewski, I would have one, but it wasn't a big thrill when I did. And then something completely amazing happened. One evening, I was having dinner with Michelle and a dear pal of ours at a lovely Italian restaurant. I ordered myself an ice-cold beer. When it came to the table, it kind of glistened with moisture all over the bottle. And I grabbed that beer and I tipped the bottle like a cheers to everybody, and I took my first big gulp. Well, that beer tasted like crap. And it was at that very moment I thought to myself, Tim, if you can't enjoy an ice-cold beer in paradise, it's time to stop. So I couldn't wait to get home to talk to my doctor and therapist. When I finally got to my doctor's office, I showed her my drinking journal that I'd been keeping. She took one look and she said, yes, I am glad you're here to talk about this. You really need to think about changing this behavior. I told her about a method that I'd read about online to quit drinking. It's called the Sinclair method. Now, this involves a pill. It's called naltrexone. And it changes the way your brain understands alcohol. When you're on naltrexone, it kind of takes the joy out of drinking. So my doctor set me up with a prescription for naltrexone, and I started taking it the very next day. Now, I was still able to drink if I wanted to, but I wasn't really sure if I wanted to. Out of curiosity, the next day, I went up to the pub, and I ordered a pint of my favorite beer. When I put it to my lips, it kind of tasted like the most flat, unlovely thing that I'd ever put into my mouth. It kind of tasted unremarkable. It was kind of like the beer was nothing at all. And I tried to drink the whole thing, but I couldn't. The next day, though, was February 14th, Valentine's Day. Michelle and I had a date to go out for a nice dinner and to celebrate our love for each other. And at that restaurant, I ordered a steak and a small glass of red wine. Well, the wine that night tasted as unremarkable as the beer I had the night before. It was like the joy of drinking alcohol had vanished. Now, since I quit drinking, I've been very upfront about it. I've had so many incredible chats with friends and colleagues who have been really curious about what I'm going through. Why did I quit? What does it feel like? Do I notice a difference? Well, here's what I can share with you. My brain feels absolutely clear. It feels as if I wake up every day and I'm looking through the most vibrant set of eyes that I've ever had. My thinking is clear and more positive. I make so many good decisions. If something pops up that would normally bother me, I'm able to just understand it and deal with it more positively. I can communicate a lot easier too. My body feels cleaner. My skin looks healthier. My eyeballs are wider. And on top of everything else, I started eating much better. So far, I've lost about 20 pounds. Best of all, Michelle and my kids tell me that they've really noticed the biggest difference in me. They say that I'm much more loving and easygoing. Michelle says she's enjoying me more than ever. My kids tell me that it's as if nothing bugs me anymore. It's really something. So I can tell you this, being sober is really working for me. I think this might be one of the best things I've ever done in my life. Will I stay sober? At this point, I think I will. Will I have a glass of wine with dinner every now and then? Sometimes I will, but I won't drink more than just a little bit. Is this something I would encourage others to do? No, not really. You see, sobriety is a decision that you have to make on your own terms. I understand my terms, but that's it. But if you do pay attention to your ups and downs, if you see yourself asking questions about the way you live your life, and you keep asking those questions over and over again, if you think you're ready to make a change, then go for it. Being sober is surprisingly more fun than it sounds. And it might lead to a more meaningful you. I'm Tim Tamashiro. Please leave a comment below and subscribe.